Picture this. A night so electric, so unexpected, it rewrote everything I thought I knew about my job, my decisions, and the man I'd called my boss for over a decade. If you're intrigued, stick around. Hit that like button, drop your wildest guesses in the comments, and subscribe, because trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming. It all started innocently enough, or so I thought. The company's annual gala had just wrapped up, a glittering affair of clinking glasses and forced smiles, the kind of event that leaves your feet aching and your head buzzing. I'd had enough. The chatter, the lights, the suffocating hum of it all. So I slipped outside, craving the bite of cool air against my skin. The city sprawled before me, a sea of twinkling lights framed by the rooftop's wide glass windows, whispering secrets I wasn't yet ready to hear. I kicked off my heels for a moment, letting the concrete chill my toes, and exhaled, thinking the night was mine to reclaim. But then a shadow moved, a voice cut through the stillness. "Leaving so soon?" it asked, smooth as velvet, laced with something I couldn't place. I turned, and there he was. Daniel Grayson, my boss, the man who'd steered our ship with unshakable poise for years. At 61, he was a storm wrapped in a suit, silver streaking his hair, eyes sharp enough to slice through pretense. That night, though, something was off. Not wrong, just different. His usual armor of authority seemed to flicker, softened by the glow of the streetlights below. I smirked, brushing it off. "Just needed a breather," I said. But as he stepped closer, the air shifted, heavy with a question neither of us had dared to ask, until now. What happened next? Oh, you'll see. The night air kissed my skin as I stood there, the gala's echoes fading behind me, a distant hum of laughter still ringing in my ears. I thought I'd stolen a moment of solitude, until he appeared. "Leaving already?" His voice slid through the shadows, low and deliberate, pulling me back from my escape. I turned, and there he was, Daniel Grayson, the man who'd been my compass in the chaos of work for 12 long years. At 61, he was a force, silver threads weaving through his dark hair, his suit sharp enough to cut glass, his presence a quiet command that built empires from dust. I'd seen him in boardrooms, watched him bend the world to his will, but tonight, something flickered in his gaze, a crack in the armor I'd never noticed before. I forced a smile, my heels pinching like little reminders of the hours I'd spent playing the part. "Just getting some air," I said, keeping it light, casual, like this was normal. But Daniel didn't move. He stood there, hands tucked into his pockets, the city lights painting him in gold and shadow. Up close, he was more than the myth I'd built in my head, less untouchable, more human. His eyes, usually cold with focus, held something softer, something I couldn't name. Was it exhaustion, regret, or something else entirely, simmering beneath that polished surface? He tilted his head, studying me like I was a puzzle he'd only just begun to solve. "Long night, huh?" he murmured, and I nodded, caught off guard by the way his voice dipped, like he was letting me in on a secret. The air thickened, the space between us shrinking, and I wondered, did he feel it too? Whatever it was only the beginning. Stick around. You won't believe where this goes. The city lights shimmered below us, a restless dance of gold against the dark. As I stood there, the gala's noise a fading memory. Daniel Grayson lingered beside me, his silhouette sharp against the glow, hands buried in his pockets like he was holding something back. "Quite a party," he said, his voice smooth but edged with something new, something that made my pulse twitch. I chuckled, brushing it off. "Funny, you throw these every year." He tilted his head, a half-smile tugging at his lips. "Business," he replied, his eyes catching mine just a beat too long. "But you looked like you actually enjoyed it." I shrugged, playing it cool. "I've learned to fake it well." His laugh rolled out, low and unguarded, slicing through the hum of the city. For a moment, we stood there, wrapped in a silence that felt alive. Two people slipping free of the office's rigid lines. The breeze tugged at my hair, and I wondered if he'd turn and leave now, retreat back to the man I'd always known, Daniel Grayson, the unshakable boss. But he didn't. Instead, his voice dropped, soft as a confession. "I'm not ready to go home yet." The words hung there, heavy, unexpected. "Care to join me for a drink?" My breath caught. This wasn't the Daniel I knew from late-night strategy calls or endless deadlines. This was someone else. Someone who looked at me like I was more than a cog in his machine. I hesitated, my mind racing. A drink? With him? It wasn't unheard of, but the way he said it, the quiet weight in his tone, made my skin prickle. "Sure," I finally said, my voice steady despite the flutter in my chest. "Why not?" He smiled, a glint of something dangerous in his eyes, and I knew this night was about to unravel everything. The city faded behind us as Daniel Grayson led me down a quiet street, away from the gala's glittering chaos, to a hidden lounge that felt like a secret carved out of time. Dim lights cast long shadows, soft jazz curling through the air like smoke, and I followed him inside, my heels clicking against the worn wooden floor. We slid into a corner booth, and I watched, half stunned, as he tugged at his tie, a rare crack in his polished facade. Daniel, the man who'd ruled my workdays for 12 years, looked different here, his silver-streaked hair catching the glow, his eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that made my breath hitch. "You've been with me a long time," he said, swirling the amber liquid in his glass, his voice low, deliberate. "Ever wonder what else life could have held?" The question hit like a spark, igniting something I hadn't dared to touch. I exhaled, meeting his gaze. "Sometimes, but every choice brought me here, didn't it?" He smiled, small, knowing, like I'd handed him a key. Then the walls came down. He spoke of his early days, the battles to build his empire, the weight of sacrifices I'd never imagined. I found myself spilling too, dreams I'd buried, moments that shaped me, words flowing as one drink became two, then three. The air thickened, charged with something unspoken. His hand brushed mine across the table, tentative, searching, and I froze, my pulse a wild drumbeat. I didn't pull away. His fingers lingered, warm against my skin, and I saw it in his eyes, a question, a dare. The jazz faded, the world narrowing to just us, and I realized this wasn't just a drink anymore. This was a door creaking open, and whatever lay beyond was about to pull me under. Curious yet? It only gets wilder. The lounge pulsed around us, a cocoon of jazz and amber light, but all I could feel was the heat of Daniel Grayson's hand grazing mine, a tether pulling me into uncharted waters. His voice broke the silence, soft, almost fragile. "I never told you this," he said, his eyes lifting to mine, unguarded in a way I'd never seen. "I've always admired you, beyond the work. You have this presence. You steady the chaos, even when I can't." My heart stumbled. Compliments weren't new, but this was a confession carved from something deeper, raw and real, and it pinned me in place. Daniel, my boss, my anchor for 12 years, wasn't just a figure of power anymore. He was a man, stripped bare in the flicker of candlelight, his silver hair glinting like a crown he didn't want to wear. "You've been my constant," he murmured, his words sinking into me, heavy with years unspoken. Maybe I took too long to see it. I swallowed, my throat tight. I'd respected him, relied on him, but now? Now his gaze stripped me down too, seeing me, not the employee, but the woman I'd forgotten I could be. "I should go," I whispered, though my voice wavered, betraying me. He studied me, a long, searching look, then nodded. "Let me walk you." We stepped into the night, the city hushed, its rhythm slowing as we reached my building. I paused at the door, my breath uneven. "Thanks for tonight," he said, his tone soft but loaded. I smiled, shaky. "Same to you." Then on impulse, I leaned in, just a fraction, before pulling back, heart hammering. "Good night, Daniel," I breathed, slipping inside as the door clicked shut. But as I leaned against it, pulse racing, I knew. Whatever this was, it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The door clicked shut behind me, but the night clung like a second skin. Daniel Grayson's words, his touch, the way his eyes had peeled back years of distance. Morning came too soon, sunlight spilling across my room, mocking the tangle in my head. I'd spent a decade seeing him as the boss, unshakable, distant, a titan in a suit. But now I couldn't shake the memory of his voice, low and unguarded, or the warmth of his hand brushing mine. I poured coffee, hands unsteady, telling myself it was nothing. Nothing had happened. Nothing could happen, right? The office buzzed when I arrived, a hive of routine I used to navigate blind. But today, the air felt charged, thick with something I couldn't name. Through the glass of his office, I caught sight of him. Daniel, mid-call, his silver hair catching the light. His eyes flicked up, snagging mine for a heartbeat, and a jolt shot through me. He smiled, small, secret, just for me, and I felt it ripple under my skin like a storm brewing. The day blurred past, meetings and emails a dull hum, but he was everywhere. A casual stop by my desk, his voice lingering a shade too long. A glance that held me captive, daring me to look away. By afternoon, I couldn't breathe in there anymore. I escaped to the terrace, the crisp autumn air a lifeline, the city sprawling below like a map I no longer recognized. I tried to shake at him, out of my head, but every thought circled back. What was this? What had we started? The door creaked behind me, and I froze. His shadow fell across the concrete, silent but heavy. You okay out here? Daniel's voice was quiet, but it carried everything from last night. I turned, heart pounding. This wasn't over. It was just waking up. The terrace stretched out before me, a sliver of quiet above the city's restless hum. But my thoughts were a storm I couldn't outrun. Daniel Grayson. His voice, his touch, the night that cracked us open, haunted every breath. I'd fled out here to escape, to untangle the mess he'd left in me, when the door sighed open behind me. You've been avoiding me, he said, his tone calm but laced with an edge that pinned me in place. I turned, forcing a laugh. Avoiding? That's dramatic. But he stepped closer, hands in his pockets, his silver-flecked eyes unreadable yet piercing, and my flimsy shield crumbled. Is it? He pressed, and I sighed, rubbing my temples. Daniel, last night was different. He nodded, finishing my thought. I know. His voice was steady, but something flickered beneath it. Something dangerous, alive. We can't do this, I said, the words hollow even as they left me. He studied me, a long, heavy pause, then exhaled. I know what you're thinking, that this is risky, that it changes everything. I straightened firm. It does change things. You're my boss. There are rules. His jaw tightened, and then he cut through, voice low, fierce. I don't care about rules. I stared, stunned. This wasn't the Daniel I knew, the calculated king of control. This was a man unmoored, his gaze locked on me like I was the only thing tethering him. You're overcomplicating it, he said, softer now. Last night, we were just us, and you felt it too. I opened my mouth, but nothing came. He was right, and it burned. He stepped closer, his breath brushing my skin. Tell me I'm wrong, he whispered, and I'll walk away. I wanted to, God, I wanted to, but my silence screamed louder. His fingers grazed my wrist, a spark igniting, and I didn't pull back. What now? The terrace air crackled as Daniel Grayson's fingers brushed my wrist, a whisper of heat that seared through years of walls I'd built. My pulse roared, drowning out the city below, and I felt it everywhere. His touch unraveling me in ways I'd never allowed. For a decade I'd lived safe, predictable, boxed in by rules and reason. But now, with him so close, his silver-streaked hair glinting in the fading light, those boundaries trembled. He watched me, waiting, his eyes a quiet storm, searching for a sign I wanted this too. And damn it, I did. I let out a shaky breath. Daniel, I don't know where this goes. His lips curved, a small, unguarded smile. Neither do I. But we don't have to run. A breeze swept through and I shivered. He noticed. Without a word, he shrugged off his jacket, draping it over my shoulders, his scent spiced, warm, wrapping around me like a promise. Come on, he said, nodding toward the office door. Let's get out of here. I blinked. Now? His voice turned light, but there was steel beneath it. Why not? I glanced back through the glass, colleagues drifting through their routines, a world I knew too well. If I stayed, I'd go home, cook dinner, sit alone with my buzzing thoughts, pretending nothing had shifted. But it had. For once, I didn't want to let this slip away. "All right," I said, steadier than I felt. "Let's go." We ended up at a dimly lit restaurant, a sanctuary of hushed voices and low music, blocks from the office's glare. He ordered wine, and as it warmed my throat, I felt the tension unwind, just a little. His eyes met mine across the table, unreadable yet magnetic. And I knew this wasn't just escape. This was us stepping over a line, and there was no turning back. What's next? You'll see. The restaurant glowed soft and secret, its low music weaving through the air as Daniel Grayson sat across from me, the flicker of candlelight dancing in his silver-streaked hair. The wine warmed my throat, loosening the knots of the day, and I set my glass down, meeting his gaze. "So," I said, voice steady despite the hum beneath my skin, "what are we doing here?" He leaned back, swirling his wine, the deep red catching the light like a hidden truth. "Honestly?" His eyes locked on mine, unreadable yet piercing. "I just wanted to be somewhere with you, where we don't have to pretend." My breath hitched. "Pretend?" He nodded, slow, deliberate. "That last night didn't mean something." The words landed like stones, heavy and unshakable, and I froze, searching for a deflection, but none came. I exhaled, surrendering. It did. A flicker crossed his face, relief maybe, or something deeper, and the dam broke. We talked, really talked, hours slipping away like sand. I spilled secrets I'd buried, how I'd chained myself to my career, convinced love was for the reckless, the young. He listened, his presence a quiet anchor, and when I paused, his fingers brushed mine, deliberate, electric. "You're not alone," he said, his voice low, certain, and I believed him. The city hushed outside, streetlights painting the night amber as we left, walking side by side, neither ready to let go. At a crosswalk he stopped, turning to me. "I don't want to rush this," he murmured, "but I won't pretend it doesn't matter." My heart pounded. "Daniel?" He chuckled, soft, cutting me off. "I know, it's messy." I laughed too, breathless, and then I stepped closer. His breath caught, eyes searching mine, and I let it happen. A kiss, slow, tentative, his hand cradling my face like I was fragile, precious. When we parted, his forehead pressed to mine, I whispered, "This changes everything, doesn't it?" He smiled. "Maybe it should." Morning light sliced through my blinds, sharp and unrelenting, stirring a whirlwind in my chest, excitement, dread, a thrill I couldn't name. Last night lingered like a fever dream. Daniel Grayson's kiss, the warmth of his touch, the way his eyes had claimed me as something worth seeing. My boss, my constant, was now a man who'd cracked my world open, and there was no undoing it. My phone buzzed, pulling me from the haze. "Daniel, morning. No regrets, I hope." A smile tugged at me as I typed back. "None. You?" His reply flashed instant, not a single one. "Can I see you later?" I froze, fingers hovering. I wanted to. God, I did, but what was later? Could we step beyond the office, beyond the lines we danced around for years? I took a breath. "Yes, but we need to talk." Evening found us in a quiet park, the city's clamor a distant hum, golden light threading through the trees. Daniel waited by a bench, hands in his pockets, his silver hair glinting as he looked up, softer than I'd ever seen him. "Hey," he said, and I echoed it, sitting beside him. Silence stretched, thick with the weight of us, until I spoke. "Where does this go, Daniel?" He exhaled, like he'd been holding that question too. "I don't have answers," he admitted, "but I don't want last night to vanish like it never happened." I nodded, slow. "Me neither." He turned, eyes steady. "Then let's not tie it to rules. Let's make it about us. Whatever that is." I swallowed. "And work," he chuckled, light but firm. "Your career's safe. We'll figure out boundaries. But this?" His hand found mine, warm, sure. "I won't lose it over logistics." My fear cracked and I squeezed back. "Okay, let's try." His smile lit the dusk and I knew we were diving in. The park glowed under the fading sun, its golden light weaving through the trees as Daniel Grayson's hand held mine, steady and real. The air hummed with possibility, the city's pulse a faint echo beyond us. "Let's not make this about rules," he'd said, his voice a quiet vow, "but about us, whatever that looks like." My heart thudded, the weight of his words sinking in. "And work?" I pressed, the practical clawing at me. He laughed, soft but resolute. "I won't let this touch your career. You've earned every inch of it. We'll set lines at the office if we have to, but I'm not letting go of this over details." His certainty pierced something deep, a fear I'd carried too long, fear of risks, of feeling, of stepping off the path I'd worn smooth. I'd told myself I was past this, past chances like him, but here was Daniel, silver hair catching the dusk, standing with me, ready to leap. "Okay," I said, my voice firm, no tremble left. "Let's see where this takes us." His smile broke wide, relief and something fiercer flashing in his eyes, and he pulled me close. The kiss was slow, deliberate, a seal on the unknown we just claimed. His lips warm, his breath mingling with mine as the world shrank to just us. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in fire, and I pulled back, breathless, his hand still cradling mine. This wasn't just a night that spun out of control. It was a door flung wide, a path unfolding. For years I'd seen him as the boss, the titan steering us all. Now he was Daniel, my Daniel, and we were rewriting the story. As the evening darkened, I felt it, a beginning, raw and uncharted, pulsing between us. What lay ahead? I didn't know, but for once I wasn't afraid to find out.